Bonnie's Insider is brought to you by Universal Primary Care, providing care to the entire family.
Hello everybody, welcome and thanks for tuning in to another edition of Bonnie's Insider, brought to you by Universal Primary Care. I'm your host, Tommy Valentine. This week for Bonnie's Insider, as we flip the calendars over to November, with just a few weeks remaining in the semester, there's still plenty of St. Bonaventure athletics action to look forward to, including the start of the basketball season, which is something we'll be hearing our Alumni Spotlight guest talk about later on in the show, none other than legendary Bonas grad and ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. On the national level, November 3rd is, of course, Election Day. Tim Kenney is in for back-to-back weeks of From the AD's office, where he'll talk about the importance of keeping Election Day open for our student athletes to get out there and vote. It's also important to take a look back at how we've gotten to this point in the semester. And St. Bonaventure's Director of Strength and Conditioning, Darryn Fiske, has been a big part of the off-season training success of our student athletes. We'll be going inside the training tent that Fiske has used to get those student athletes season ready. But first, while many of us were just sitting around during those long months of quarantine, a pair of Bonaventure student athletes seized the opportunity to begin podcasting. Now, as they prepare for their upcoming seasons, these Bonnies are still managing to balance hours of practice with the passion they have outside of athletics.
Welcome back to Sisterhood, the podcast about sisterhood, hoops, and everything in between. I'm your host, Olivia Brown. On today's episode, we are joined by Caitlin Strawbridge, a redshirt senior at Loyola in Chicago.
Welcome back to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm Jack.
I'm Anna.
And I'm new here.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
did it!
We
We did it! Avengers Assemble! The whole team
is here.
Hi, I'm Olivia Brown. I'm a sophomore, and I host the Sister Hoop podcast.
My name's Austin Holley. I'm a freshman here at St. Bonaventure. I'm on the men's lacrosse team, and I am a co-host of the Everything Geek podcast.
It's been a dream of mine for like 2 years now, and I finally kind of put it into motion once quarantine started, when I had more time to think about it. One of the first questions that I ask on every show is, what's your favorite memory of sisterhood? And then what's one of your favorite memories of hoops? Basically, I just want to tell the stories of women's basketball players. It doesn't matter which level. It can be high school, D3, D1, whatever. But everyone has their own individual story, and that's basically what I want to explore through this podcast, is just, figuring out people's stories and sharing it with the world. I do everything myself, so I'll do the interviews on Zoom, edit it all on GarageBand. It's really fun. I really enjoy talking to all these different players, hearing their stories. It's fun to help them out, and it's also helping me practice journalism, which is my major. Hopefully I can get to something big enough to where I actually have my stamp on women's basketball. That would be phenomenal, but I really just want it to be about the players and sharing their stories so that they have their own stamp on women's basketball in a way. One is MSU Hall of Famer and WNBA champ Kristen Haney. The other one is with our very own Carrie Dornlin. And then the third one is with Lauren Van Clunen, who is a Marquette redshirt senior. As a player, there aren't very many other podcasts for me. I kind of created the podcast as something that I would want to listen to and hear about my peers. When I was a high school player, I didn't have resources. I didn't know anyone who was playing college basketball. So if I were to have this podcast, I would kind of have a better understanding of what college basketball is like and what it entails. Why I'm so excited about this podcast is because I think it's really meaningful for women's basketball.
2 years ago, my friends Anna and Jack, they've been running this podcast for probably 3-4 years. I kind of got talking to them about it in school, and they invited me to come on as a guest, just kind of go on, talk about stuff I knew, stuff I wanted to talk about, whatever. We had a lot of chemistry together. We were all really good friends, and so we just started doing more episodes, and the more we did, the more fluent it became, and we have viewers from everywhere, people from Denmark that we know listen to it. It's not a huge podcast. We're not worldwide known, but we have a lot of people that listen to it. We basically talk about anything in entertainment. The last big thing we did was Planet of the Apes trilogy. We watched all 3 movies, then did an episode on it and our review and kind of how we felt about the movies. If I was going to pick the favorite thing I've done, we did a live stream for the National Heart Association. It was awesome to do something not for ourselves. We had a donation line set up, and I think we raised over $1,000. Just that feeling after we were done to do something that we love to do that helps other people. So you can find us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud at the Everything Geek Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Everything Geek Pod, capital EGP, and Instagram, the Everything Geek Podcast.
Both Olivia and Austin are earning great practice towards their majors here at St. Bonaventure. Olivia's interviews are honing her skills as a journalism and mass communications major, while Austin's editing of the podcast helps with his film and video production major. We're just getting started here on Bonnie's Insider. After the break, we're dropping a Woj bomb on our Alumni Spotlight segment. You're watching Bonnie's Insider, brought to you by UPC.
Schultz is always at your service, ensuring your vehicle gets the maintenance it requires. Now, with modern, touchless options across the entire auto care experience. Speak with a service advisor on the phone or at one of our newly envisioned service centers. Pay invoices online or via mobile app. And drive home in confidence, knowing Schultz only permits limited personnel access to your vehicle. Exceeding expectations is our mission. That's why the next generation of auto care is already here at Schultz.
What's the best way to pick the right college? Use your head and make a practical choice based on cost and academics? Or follow your heart to a place that just feels right? At St. Bonaventure, you can do both. Here, you'll join a unique community that celebrates individuality, meet professors as passionate about people as they are about learning, and form lifelong connections without a lifetime of debt. Come see for yourself why St. Bonaventure isn't just a special place, it's a smart choice.
Before he became one of the most respected insiders for ESPN, Adrian Wojnarowski was a St. Bonaventure journalism major who began crafting his reporting skills by doing what many students within the Jandoli School of Communications crave to do: cover Bonnie's basketball. Despite having a position at ESPN that is essentially 24/7, Woj still manages to keep a close eye on his alma mater's hoops team. And like many Bonnie's fans, he has high hopes for head coach Mark Schmidt's team in 2020.
I always say this: every good thing that has happened in my life, both personally and professionally, it almost all traces back to St. Bonaventure. Certainly the start I got in my journalism career, the relationships I built, and the experience I got, and the knowledge I gained. I met my wife, Amy, at St. Bonaventure. She's a 1992 graduate. Her family are all Bonnies. Her sister, Polly. Our brother-in-law, Darryn, played for the Bonnies, 85 to 87. Her dad went to St. Bonaventure, and so it's a Bonnies family. And so everything good for me that's happened starts there. I have Dale T-Paz to thank for that, because he introduced Bonaventure to me and played on the Final Four team with Bob Lanier. My sister worked with him when I was in high school at the Hartford in Connecticut. I grew up in Bristol, Connecticut, right down the street from ESPN. I wanted to major in journalism. I really didn't know how to do that. And he gave my sister a brochure of St. Bonaventure, and she came home with it, and I read through it, and I said, this looks pretty cool. And remember, she took me over to spend some time with him and talk to him about the school. And remember, he took me into his TV room, and he had a big Bob Lanier, Chuck Taylor Converse size 22 that he took out of Bob's locker. Like, everybody, I think, took sneakers from him just to say that they had one of them. He introduced me to St. Bonaventure, as a good Bonnie alum does. And I think, we all try to pay it back and make sure that we can enlighten some others about what a great experience it is to go there, what a special place it is. And there's not a day that goes by in my life that I'm not talking about Bonaventure. I'm not thinking about it, texting or connecting with one of my classmates or a friend or people I see in work, at ESPN, Chris LaPlaca and Justin Craig and Raina Banks at ESPN. I mean, there's so many people doing every job imaginable. The education you're going to get at St. Bonaventure and the environment at St. Bonaventure is really unique in a way that it is a small school with 2,000 students. You're going to feel a part of it. The influence the Franciscans have at St. Bonaventure, it's the same as when I went to school there in the ancient days, in the late 80s and 90, 91. You can have that kind of environment and yet still be in the Atlantic 10. It's a remarkable place for players to play. I mean, I'd see Jalen Adams in the bubble with the Blazers, and he'll be in warm-ups and layup line, getting ready to play the Lakers in the playoffs. And he's yelling Bonnies over to me from the layup line when he sees me in the gym in the bubble. So he's getting ready to play LeBron and Anthony Davis, and he's calling out Bonnies to me courtside, which is the way it's supposed to be. I don't know that we've had a more talented group at St. Bonaventure when you look at from top to bottom. The best players on our team, Shun and Kyle Lofton, and they're as good as anybody in the Atlantic 10. They are elite players, and Dom Welch and Jaron Holmes, and just depth and experience and the great chemistry, a great spirit to that group. And I know we've got some additions that are coming in. They're going to complement those guys. This has a chance to be really an exciting season, and a team that, was really playing some great basketball last year before the shutdown. And I would have loved to have seen what might have happened in Brooklyn with them in the Atlantic 10 tournament. But to me, Shun and Kyle Lofton are such a reflection of the growth of the program that you're grateful that young men like that decide to choose St. Bonaventure. And I think the success he's had, and I just think Shun's enthusiasm and his attitude, his disposition is so infectious. You just can tell how much fun he's having out there playing. And I'm excited about this team. I think everybody is, to see what the potential is for this group together. What Mark Schmidt has done at St. Bonaventure is beyond my wildest imagination. I mean, it is remarkable to think of who we compete against budget-wise, size-wise, geography. To think of the fact that Mark has turned St. Bonaventure into not a good Atlantic 10 basketball program, an elite Atlantic 10 basketball program. We have had elite success in his tenure. The things that sometimes people might see as limitations for St. Bonaventure, he has turned into positives. And he has helped make, again, St. Bonaventure a brand name in college basketball. It is synonymous with success. That had been true for a very long time. We know we went through some lean years, and it was difficult for everybody. And I think, at times you all question, like, what is realistic success for us? And I think Mark shattered the ceiling for everybody on what we can consistently do. It has been year in and year out. And the kind of players that he's recruited, the kind of job he and his coaching staff do in developing those players, finding the right kind of young men who love what St. Bonaventure is about, who really feel like they're a fit in the community there and are a fit in the community there. It's just been remarkable. And, I tell people all the time, it is truly a golden age of St. Bonaventure basketball. And I hope everybody appreciates it is really hard to do what Mark is doing. Boy, it's a lot of fun. His teams are fun to watch. His players are fun to get to know. I can't tell you just what he's done and how he's done it with integrity, by graduating his players and playing a brand of basketball that is fun to watch. And to think of the games we've won, the teams and schools we beat. I'm getting ready to go out on my first work trip in a while, besides the bubble. And I'm going to LA to work on some stuff this week. And I stay at the W Hotel in Westwood, right by UCLA. And I know what's going to happen on this trip. I'm going to walk over to UCLA's campus, and I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to think about beating UCLA in the NCAA tournament. I'm going to look at Pauley Pavilion. I'm going to look at the big monument of John Wooden outside, the statue of John Wooden outside the arena. I'm going to look around that campus. And I'm going to go, there is no way St. Bonaventure is supposed to beat UCLA in the NCAA tournament. And I'm going to take a picture of that wooden statue like I did the last time I was there. I'm going to text it to Mark Schmidt, and I'm going to go, you beat these guys in the NCAA tournament. I was there. I saw it. I lost my voice. I was sitting with President DePiro, cursing in ways at the refs that you're not supposed to curse in front of the university president, but he was as into it as I was. So, it gets me fired up thinking about it.
There's just something about hearing Woj talk Bonnie's basketball that gets you even more excited for the season. But as many people know, this season is unlike any other. Practices are well underway, but one of the many changes is the elimination of preseason exhibition and close scrimmage games, making Bonna's veteran members all the more important. Head coach Mark Schmidt talks about why his veterans provide some comfort in an otherwise unpredictable season.
There's no scrimmages this year. There's no exhibition games, which is scary. One positive thing about us, we have a veteran team. So for, I know a lot about, most of the guys, but it's really scary that first game that we play counts. So that's really, really a concern for us. So we'll do a little bit more of scrimmaging to try to take the place of the scrimmage that we usually have against Kent State in the exhibition game against Alfred. Those guys, especially when the season ended last year and they went home and, we were doing a lot of Zoom workouts and so forth. I think if you have a young team, and I don't think they realize, how hard you have to work, what type of shape you need to be in. And I think having a veteran team, these guys know, they understand they have to stay in shape, and they understand how difficult, being successful in the Atlantic 10 is. It's almost like the veteran guys are working hard so those young guys see that. Any good program or any program that's had some success, makes it easier for the coach, because the veteran guys lead. The veteran guys can tell the young guys, hey, this is what you need to do. If you have a young team, now it all comes on the coach's shoulders, and sometimes it's like the doubting Thomas, like, yeah, sure, coach. Until you see it, you don't believe it. So yeah, having a veteran team is really, really important. Those guys have been in the fire. They understand. It's not a perfect world, but everybody's going through it, and I'd rather have a veteran team going through it than a younger team.
And a lot of new talent on that team between a loaded freshman class and an impressive wave of transfers. And those veterans Mark Schmidt talked about will be even more helpful, helping those newcomers get acquainted and building up the team chemistry that Schmidt's teams are so well known for. Still more to come here on Bonnie's Insider. Tim Kenney is in after the break with another installment of From the AD's Office. And in case you haven't noticed, there's been a massive white tent on campus for the last few months. Find out what that's all about. You're watching Bonnie's Insider, brought to you by UPC.
You'll light candles with strangers the day you arrive, and extinguish them with lifelong friends the day you leave this place. A place that will transform your life, inside and outside the classroom. A place where you'll learn to care about each other, and about others you never imagined caring about. A place where people help you believe in yourself. For 160 years, St. Bonaventure University has helped good students become great people.
Away from campus? No problem. You can follow Go Bonnies wherever you are on Instagram and Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Keep up with all your favorite squad. And don't forget to use the hashtag Unfurl.
Welcome back to Bonnie's Insider, brought to you by UPC. I mentioned earlier in the show how this upcoming basketball season will be like no other. Well, that's pretty much been the theme for everything here in 2020, and the presidential election has been no exception. What could be a record year for voter participation, the NCAA is doing their part to ensure student athletes have an opportunity to get out and vote, something St. Bonaventure Director of Athletics Tim Kenney feels is of the utmost importance.
To emphasize how important we believe our student athletes and everybody getting involved in this electoral process, nobody's doing anything on that Tuesday of Election Day. Practices are done. This is going to be a day to think about what you want to do, exercise your constitutional right, and have a say in the process. One of the messages we're sending to our student athletes is, you're not doing anything athletically related that day. You go do your part. All right? We don't want to have you sit there and say you can't vote because you're in a practice or you have to do these things. Clear the slate, go do your thing, be part of the process, and then the next day we come back and start training again. What was great is our Student Athlete Advisory Council actually ran the voter registration drive on campus, where they got a lot of people who were registered to vote, and a lot of them for the first time. Doesn't matter who you vote for, it's up to you. That's a personal choice, but we're putting the emphasis on be part of it. We don't tell them how to vote. That's not our job. Our job is to tell them you need to vote and why you need to vote. I think our student athletes get it. I think our campus gets it. I want to see everyone with the stickers on that day on their chest saying, I voted, because then we've done a good thing and we've gotten people involved in the process.
And we'd like to encourage everyone to get out there and perform their civic duty tomorrow, but do be careful and conscientious of social distancing when you're making your way to the polls. Well, this fall we have had many safety protocols put in place in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. One of those safety initiatives is pretty obvious to anyone on campus. A large tent set up between the Riley and Richter Centers, which has served as an outdoor weight training area for our Bonaventure student athletes. In this age of social distancing, the weight room tent has been essential to Director of Strength and Conditioning Darryn Fiske, his staff, and our student athletes.
Currently, with our spacing, we can have really 10 to 12 student athletes at one time. If we go out in the tent, we can get close to 20 to 25 student athletes at one time. But our bigger teams were able to actually train in bigger groups out in the tent, and it saved us a lot of time, a lot of organization, and a lot of fumbling with the team schedules and things like that when they were trying to train and things of that nature. We have the tent till November 16th. It's getting colder. Athletes have adjusted. We've gone from really warm inside the tent to now it's quite cold. But when we get the kids in there and they start working out, you see the layers of the clothes start to peel off. So while it's not ideal, it is still better than the alternative of not being able to train. Even myself, wearing something in front of your face is not very comfortable for the amount of time that you're at work and doing the things that you need to do. Now add training on top of that, where we go pretty intensely, but we're still demanding that our athletes wear the mask while they're doing it. It's been difficult, but they've gotten used to it. We got what we need out there. It's not ideal, but we made the best of a tough situation. In the end, we're going to see some good results from the training with the teams that have been working outside. Hopefully, the kids will see the benefit of actually being able to train and doing simple things, and maybe even help us modify their programs when they go home, because we don't know what they have available at home.
We've been creative, and there's going to be more of that needed in order for us to compete and be safe throughout this year. Our strength and conditioning staff has moved a lot of equipment out there to spread out and keep open air to make the kids safe and be able to have them train. Trying to keep social distancing as best as you can, because once again, sports sometimes flies in the face of social distancing. So there's been challenges, but what's been great is to see us be creative and meet those challenges with what we have.
Where would St. Bonaventure Athletics be without one of the best in the business, Darryn Fiske? Amazing what he's been able to do, keeping our student athletes safe while also getting them in top shape for their upcoming seasons. That's all the time we have for Bonnie's Insider. Before we wrap things up, here's what you have to look forward to for next week's show. This fall season has been littered with inter-squad scrimmages. We'll give you an update on how our teams have been simulating game action to prepare for 2021. We'll also get to know men's basketball junior Oshun Oshuni off the court in the return of our player profile segment. And Coach's Corner is back as well with Bona's longest tenured coach, baseball head coach Larry Sudbrook. Thanks again to everyone who tuned in. Join us again next week when Bonnie's Insider returns. I'm Tommy Valentine. So long, and thanks for watching.
Bonnie's Insider has been brought to you by Universal Primary Care, providing care to the entire family.